Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special online event today called The Healing Blessing of Tara, Receiving Awakened Feminine Wisdom from the Female Buddha. My name is Stephen Dinan. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be here with you today, learning from a remarkable woman who has really pioneered the bridging of Tibetan Buddhist wisdom with the West in really remarkable ways. Her name is Lama Palden Drolma, and she was, in fact, one of the first women to be authorized as a Lama in the Buddhist tradition in the West. And she spent several decades now teaching work, initiating people. She's gone through profound, meditation retreats and initiations herself. She also integrates a lot of psychological wisdom from the West as well. So we're really going to be exploring how the feminine wisdom of Tara that's represented and embodied in Tara can be a powerful blessing for you in your life. So Lama Palden, thank you so much for joining us here today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to offer a blessing or a prayer, perhaps from the Tibetan lineage, just to invoke us all into a sacred space together?
Yes, yeah. People can close their eyes and for a moment call upon all the awakened beings from all times and in all places, any of the sages, masters that you each individually have a connection with. Call upon them to be present with us. And breathe in and connect with your heart, connecting with yourself. And then let's open into the bigger space of coming together today to bring benefit and healing to ourselves and to all peoples of the earth.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, I always find before we get into a set of teachings, it's nice to know who the human being is with us. And I know you've had a pretty remarkable life path. So Lama Palden, I don't know if you would be willing to share some of your own journey into Tibetan Buddhism, particularly with the healing wisdom of Tara and how that played a very influential role in your own spiritual awakening and service.
Yes. Well, I was Northern California Bay Area girl growing up in the late 60s. And I became very interested in studying all religions, actually from when I was about 9 years old. And I was a Christian and very devout, but also really interested in all religions. And in my 20s, after studying and doing a lot of yoga and Zen and all kinds of practices, Sufism as well, practicing in that, I began to look for a teacher, and I began to pray to meet my teacher. And a friend dragged me off to meet this old Tibetan master, Kala Rinpoche, and one night in San Francisco, and I immediately realized he was my primary teacher. And I wasn't Buddhist, but I thought, well, whatever he is, that's fine. And I ended up soon after that going to the Himalayas to study with him and studying in the Himalayas off and on for many years. And then going into 3-year retreat in Canada and British Columbia on top of a mountain on an island. And along the way, after I met my teacher, I became acquainted with Tara and doing Tara meditation. And I just started to feel a huge enrichment of my life through my Tara meditation. And then especially in 3-year retreat, where we did a long Tara meditation every morning before breakfast for about an hour, I made a very deep and profound connection with Tara at that time. And since then have really felt her as a profound friend and mentor and guide and a source of much healing and blessing in my own life. And I've had the pleasure of sharing Tara with many men and women who've also come to love Tara.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing more about your life path. And so let's really introduce us to Tara. Who is she? What does she symbolize? What is as a deity and a force of consciousness. What is it that she really brings to us?
Well, Tara is an amazing manifestation of the love that actually comes from the vastness beyond form and the love and the wisdom that's ever present everywhere. And that love and wisdom takes form so that we can actually connect with it. And, there's many stories of Tara's origin, two main legends, actually. And should I tell those now?
Sure.
So many eons ago, there was a woman practitioner, a woman meditator, who was on the path of awakening. And for eons, she meditated and practiced, and eventually came to the point where she was about to awaken. And so her classmates were all men, and they said to her, "Oh, now that you're about to awaken, in your next life you should be born as a man, because it's obviously much better to awaken as a man and be in that form." So she said to them, "The fact that you just said that and that you think like that shows that you have a lot of ignorance about true nature and the reality of really what is. You don't really understand that in true reality, there is no difference between men and women. There are equality, and they're completely equal. So I will always take rebirth as a woman. I will always come in the form as a woman in order to demonstrate full and complete awakening, the embodiment of wisdom and love as a woman." So in that way, she made that aspiration, and since that time has continued to manifest to human beings as a woman in her subtle body form, a form of light and form. And there's also another story of Tara's origin, and that is that Avalokiteshvara, or he's called Chenrezig by the Tibetans, the Bodhisattva of compassion, who's the essence of all the awakened beings' compassion. He was for many, many eons trying to help liberate sentient beings from suffering and bring them to full and complete awakening. And he became very, very discouraged one day. And many, many beings had awakened with his help, and yet there were countless beings still suffering. So he became extremely discouraged, and his body suddenly split into 1,000 pieces. And at that point, his guru showed up, Amitabha, and Amitabha said to him, "Oh, there, don't be discouraged." And he patted him, and as he patted him, all his pieces came back together. And yet his form was different then. He had 1,000 arms, and in each palm was an eye. So 1,000 arms and an eye in each palm, as well as his eyes on his face. And then he was looking out with great compassion and having more capacity now that he had these 1,000 arms. And a tear fell from each of his eyes. And from one tear, green Tara manifested, and from the other tear, white Tara appeared. And so this is another story about how white and green Tara appeared from the tears of the Bodhisattva of compassion when he looked out at the suffering of all beings and so much wants to help. And then the Taras were born to aid him in that process. So we have here a couple different legends about Tara's origin, and her activity is really to alleviate anxiety and fear and the causes of fear, and to help us uncover and completely connect with, become one with our own awakened nature. And she mirrors to us our pure being, our incredible, splendid, awakened nature, the union of wisdom and love that has many, many qualities to it.
Beautiful. Well, those are great stories that really bring things alive. You mentioned so that there's a commitment of Tara to incarnate as a woman and lifetime after lifetime. And so part of what we were really exploring today is like how this awakened feminine, which has often been neglected or marginalized or sidelined in a lot of spiritual lineages, is really needed right now to come back to the foreground, particularly for women, but really for the larger world. I'd love for you to share a little bit about why the medicine that Tara offers might be particularly important for this moment on our planet.
Yes, Stephen, this is something I've been very aware of for a long time. And my feeling in my own life and people I've worked with Tara is that Tara is an embodiment of a full spectrum of awakened feminine. She's both has activity of pacifying suffering, pacifying aggression and conflict, anger. She helps increase all the beneficent conditions that we need in order to live our lives and to thrive. And she helps remove all the obstacles. And she has these many different forms. And she shows to us that the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, can appear as a full spectrum, not just like the Madonna or the chaste celibate mother of Jesus, who, of course, Mary is wonderful, but she's just one aspect of the entirety of the divine feminine. And Tara demonstrates to us that, yes, the awakened feminine manifests as a Madonna, as a wife, as a sexual being, as a brilliantly intelligent being, as a being that can be fierce and can cut through what needs to be cut through, that has courage to stand up to what needs to be stood up to. So she demonstrates this full spectrum that every part of us is sacred and that we can bring every part of us to our spiritual path of awakening. And she mirrors back to us all of these qualities that in their essence are primordially pure. And our path is to unlock all of this and to realize that each and every part of us as women and as the feminine part that is in men as well is sacred. And that no part of us needs to be left behind, but all of us is a brilliant kaleidoscope of who we truly are.
I love that, a kaleidoscope of who we truly are. So let's talk about with Tara, like how you can begin to work with her as a deity, as an archetypal energy, however people feel comfortable working with this. And so that actually, as a practice, to begin to release and unwind some of the narratives and woundings and shame. So there is this all-embracing quality, you've said, that all parts of us are sacred, and that's part of where the wounding is, that we felt orphaned from parts of ourselves or separated from parts of ourselves, and that Tara offers an antidote to that. So I'd love for you to share more about the practice, and then you can lead us in an actual experience of it.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So the way I look at these awakened beings, one way to look at it, and as you said, people can relate to Tara in whatever way they want, and they don't need to be Buddhist at all for anybody. But the way I look at it is out of the vast openness of awakened mind that really is ever present everywhere and in all of us. That is a formless dimension. And because of the love and compassion of awakened beings, they manifest into form so we can connect with them. And when beings awaken, they don't disappear into nothingness. Their activity is able to manifest beyond time, any limitations of time and space. So if we call upon Tara, she will instantly appear. That's part of her vow, is that if we call upon her, she will instantly appear to us. And we can practice by visualizing, by imagining her in the sky in front of us. And over time, this experience becomes more and more real. And usually people have breakthrough experiences, even in the beginning of meditating on Tara, where we do get a powerful sense of her presence with us. So why don't we begin a short meditation now, and I'll introduce everyone to what I'm talking about in actual direct experience. So people, you can close your eyes if you want, and just let go of everything that isn't present right here, right now, in this moment. And then imagine that instantly facing you in the sky in front of you is this beautiful female awakened being. Her skin is the color of a high mountain lake, blue-green, turquoise green in color. Her eyes are gazing at you with profound love, with her innate wisdom. She's seated on a lotus and moon seat in the sky, and her right leg is slightly outstretched, symbolic of the fact that she is at any moment ready to come to the aid of beings, to come when we call upon her. And then half of her hair is on top of her head in a top knot and half flowing down, which signifies that she's awakened, and yet she stays in samsara to benefit beings, to connect with us. And her right hand is on her right knee, outstretched with palm up, with her hand in the mudra of generosity. And her left hand is holding the stem of a lotus flower blooming next to her left ear, symbolic of how in this ocean of suffering and chaos that each of us is a pure primordial being that can fully and completely awaken into the totality of who we are. And then just meditate on Tara like this in front of you, the embodiment of the divine feminine, the divine mother, inseparable with all that is. She gazes on you with great love and understanding. And then think that from her right hand that's palm up with her forefinger and thumb connected, think that from the palm of her right hand flows a stream of nectar, liquid light that's this turquoise green in color, and it streams down from her hand into your head, streaming down into your body, soothing everything that needs to be soothed, dissolving everything you don't want anymore in your body, in your psyche, in your mind. The stream of nectar, awakened nectar, liquid light, dissolves what we don't want anymore or need anymore, and it brings healing energy into you. And just open to feel this stream of what they call amrita in Sanskrit, this stream of elixir or nectar. Feel it descending and filling your whole body with liquid light, with this blessing, healing energy of Tara. and open to feel that Tara really sees you. She's the ultimate mother that completely sees us, that loves us fully, in spite of all our foibles, our ups and downs, the better and worse parts of ourselves. She sees all of us and loves us dearly. She's committed to us, to our well-being, our happiness, our release and freedom from suffering, our liberation into full enlightenment. And breathe into this feeling of being filled with this awakened nectar, this liquid light. Breathe into the peace and the joy of Tara's presence with you. And open your eyes and just let yourself stay in the glow of the blessing of Tara.
That was beautiful. Well, thank you. Just feeling the golden elixir you're describing so beautifully. So, how does this? What's your sense for how this actually works? It's sort of like almost like an inner alchemy that you're blending the more enlightened vibration pattern of Tara into your own energy field. And how does that start to transmute things?
Exactly, Stephen. Yes, through a step-by-step meditation process that's been done for, thousands of years by yogis and yoginis, we meet Tara, as I introduced, and we go through a process in the meditation, which, as you said, is an alchemical process of receiving in the awakened energy and then working with that in particular ways in our own mind, body, psyche to connect and embody that and to allow it to help us to open to our own awakened nature. So all the activity of Tara is to help us open to our own innate wisdom and love. And this alchemical transformational process through the step-by-step meditation allows that to happen. And as we engage in this process over time, it has a very profound effect of healing our wounds, of bringing us to a better place with ourselves, inside of ourselves, a deeper feeling of loving kindness, of awareness present with our human selves, and opening into our awakened self, and over time beginning to truly feel our inseparability with awakened presence of body, speech, and mind. And then how we embody that in the world. As we open into this process, engage in it more, our neurotic habit patterns, some of the roots of them begin to let go and dissolve, and some of them we begin to see very clearly so that we can work with them consciously and let go of them and find what we're really seeking, what we're really longing for directly inside of our own beings, as Tara helps us to unlock the gate to that.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a process of like melting some of these solidified kind of lower density, lower vibration structures in our psyche, rather than we have to kind of emote or process them or necessarily express them in some way. You're just kind of like gently dissolving or melting the pattern with this higher frequency of consciousness and awareness.
Yes, exactly. And the awareness in us that becomes more and more activated, our pure awareness that becomes more and more activated, so to speak, we be also sometimes, if there's really stuck habit patterns, we see them more clearly than ever. And we begin to see the lack of reality in how they don't actually work for us. And so we begin to kind of let go also. So it's both, as you mentioned, a dissolving, sort of a very soft process, and also just them appearing to us in stark clarity. And as we see them, we've just engaged less and less in them, and then they fall away.
Now, you mentioned earlier how Tara represents a full spectrum of forms, and from the very kind of fierce compassion to the very kind of gentle compassion. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about, are there different forms that you meditate on with at different times, like medicine for the moment, or to deal with particular obstacles that come up? How do you engage with the full spectrum of Tara's faces, if you will?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Yes, so Tara has 21 forms, and they manifest in various colors: yellow, red, blue, dark blue, black, white, green, and her different forms have different activities. And so we imagine that in the sky all around Tara, also seated on lotus and moon seats in the sky, are her 21 forms. And they have these various activities, some pacifying, enriching, all kinds of various activities. So we can specifically connect also with her specific forms for particular purposes that we have or needs that we have. And at the same time, green Tara, the central Tara from which they all spring, she embodies all of them. So we can just also work just with her, and all of the various qualities come through as well. But then there are, this specific activities of the specific ones that we can tune in and meditate on as well.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of diagnose a bit where you're at and what might be the most helpful or healing quality for the moment, then, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, and maybe like with Tara, she works the intersection of both the material, ordinary human world and the awakened world. So she really cares about the whole thing for us, because we're very engaged in the ordinary world, and a lot of us need a lot of help in the world. Like maybe we need help in relationships. Maybe we need help healing from an illness. Maybe we need help finding a job. So she has various activities, both worldly and spiritual. And even if we call upon her to help with a worldly problem, it will bring both worldly and spiritual benefit, because the worldly benefit supports us on our path of awakening. If our circumstances are more beneficial and more supportive for us, then it's easier for us to travel the path of awakening. So she helps with both sides of the equation, so to speak, both the spiritual and the mundane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it makes sense also with, we traditionally associate the masculine with a little more the transcendent side, and feminine more with the embodiment side. And so for her to kind of bridge those worlds makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And care about us so fully and deeply as humans, again, with this kind of full love, that it's not like, no, you're not some terrible person that if people really found out who you really are, they wouldn't love you or appreciate you. You're not like at the core, something is deficient. No, you're okay, even as you are, with your human, difficulties and struggles.
Beautiful. Well, one thing I'm curious to ask a little bit more about is around how to pair this work with Tara with cultivating the awakened masculine as well, since it's the dance and union of these that ultimately is sort of one of the greatest healings for our world. So just how do you work with the awakened masculine within the context of a Tara practice as well?
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Usually the way we work in Tibetan Buddhism with this is that there's masculine awakened beings or male awakened beings that we work with to really actualize and develop our awakened masculine. And then, there's beings such as Tara that we work with for the awakened feminine. So, and then Yabyum deities or Yabyum Buddhas are worked with to bring that all together. But nevertheless, whether we're working, say, with Chenrezig, the Bodhisattva of compassion, a masculine being, or with Tara, a feminine being, because they help us actualize our awakened presence and our awakened mind, they actually help bring both to actualization simultaneously, the masculine and the feminine. And so it's an organic process that just naturally sort of happens on its own while we're in engaged meditation. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that, we all have masculine, we all have feminine within us, those two parts, and that they both these parts become fully actualized into awakening.
Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to share a little bit about how a practice with Tara can evolve over time. So there's some kind of basic level practices, and you guide us in initial kind of encounter, which is very lovely. Like, how do you deepen and evolve a practice over time with Tara?
It's the repetition on a daily or, as often as we can basis, doing the practice, even if it's a short thing for 5 minutes or a longer, anywhere from a moment to an hour, whatever, or an all-day practice. As we connect with her over time, then our experience deepens and this transformational process we begin to feel it more and more viscerally and feel the actual alive presence of Tara more and more over time as we meditate on her. And then as we talk to Tara, and in Tara meditation, there's points where we can talk to her as if she's our best friend, as if she's the mother we never had or that we always wanted. Even if we had a wonderful mother, she's the, vast divine mother. And we can talk to her about everything that's going on with us and how we might need her assistance and what we need help with and what our longings are. And in this way, our relationship with her very much deepens over time.
I love that. And it sort of fits with what you're saying before, where you can ask her about worldly challenges, that there's not ultimately a distinction, that you don't have to feel like you only bring your most enlightened questions, that it's like the most, everyday challenges. And there's a kind of an intimate, sweet, familiar kind of quality there as well.
Exactly. And, often people feel like, oh, that's not spiritual. Like, I was angry yesterday, but that's not spiritual, so I tried to get rid of that. And in the process with Tara, that energy of, say, our anger or any other conflicted emotion, we bring that energy into the practice and allow it to be transformed. And anger transforms into the wisdom of clarity, mirror-like wisdom that sees and understands things very, very clearly. So all of these emotions that create a lot of suffering and difficulties for us at times, we don't just think, oh, that's some non-spiritual part of me, let's get rid of that. No, inherently that energy is pure. It's just coming out in a little bit of a distorted way. So we want to allow that energy in us to liberate into its corresponding wisdom. And Tara helps us with that process.
I think that's such a profound insight, that there's a corresponding wisdom for each place that we think of as a deep challenge. Yes. So you're saying with the clarity goes to wisdom. The anger goes to clarity. I'd love for you to share just a few others of that, making that pivot from the kind of more dense, kind of distorted form into the more pure form.
Another example, and this is, there's a schematic of the 5 Buddha families that describes this, but another aspect of this is take jealousy and fear, and oftentimes jealousy and fear have a kind of speeded up quality with them as well, speedy quality, and that energy, when it's liberated and transformed, becomes the wisdom of all accomplishment. So it's an all-accomplishing kind of wisdom that can effortlessly do many things and benefit many beings.
Beautiful.
And in terms of like our grasping and desire, our lust energy, that turns into the wisdom of discernment. So all of these, what we consider kind of neurotic or negative characteristics, or that we have to deal with inside of ourselves as human beings, energetically they're innately pure, and due to our fundamental ignorance of not understanding who and what we totally are, not understanding that we are awakened beings, that energy can come out in distorted ways. It's basically due to the split of duality. And we'll be going into more of that during the course.
So it's interesting that all of this ultimately sources in the split of duality, and that Tara is helping to heal that by working with her. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about maybe just a story or two from either your journey or the journey of your students who have been working with Tara in a way that has really led to a real liberation or transformation around some core patterning, whether that's abuse or something that could have been really very difficult to heal in another fashion. But how is working with Tara able to help transform those underlying patterns in a more powerful way?
Well, I think one of the biggest examples is when I've seen students who had a lot of anxiety in their personality and have had to deal with a lot of anxiety. And through meditating on Tara and having a daily meditation practice, or as regular as possible, and really feeling the transmission from Tara and the healing from Tara, that over time the anxiety became soothed, and all that nervous, agitated energy became soothed in the body and in the psyche, and an understanding that develops over time that there isn't actually anything to be anxious about, and into further stages of realization of that. And it's just like if you have a small child and they're really afraid of, there's a boogeyman under the bed, and mom comes in and picks up the child and holds the child and looks under the bed and shines the light and says, wow, there is nothing under there, and I'm going to stay with you so that you feel safe. And that's really how Tara works in our psyche. This is the presence of awakened mother, awakened feminine, to hold us, to be present with us, to shine the light so that we can see actually there isn't anything to really be worried about right here, right now, in this moment, and to also help us work through things so that we don't create those kind of circumstances in our life. Through bringing in more loving kindness with ourselves, which happens with this process, then we also stop engaging in patterns that are self-sabotaging, that create more stress, struggle, and anxiety and fear for ourselves. So this is one of the areas that I've seen Tara practice make a really big difference in students' lives.
Beautiful. Well, one of the things looking back at the page describing today, that I think we didn't go as deep into the origin story of Tara. You shared a little bit about her, but maybe to share a little bit more of the the historical context, and particularly the origins from Nagarjuna and received through the Nagas, like as an intriguing aspect of understanding her in a deeper way.
Yes, well, Nagarjuna is by many considered the greatest Buddhist philosopher of all time. He was about 2nd century, Common Era. Ken Wilber says he's the greatest philosopher of all time. So he was a brilliant guy. And nevertheless, one day, apparently, he was out by a lake, this large body of water, and the Nagas, the serpent spirits, appeared to him. And he was also a great yogi, a great, profound meditator. And he was given from under the water. The Nagas are famous for holding jewels and having jeweled kingdoms under the water. And they had preserved the texts of Tara, the teachings of Tara, in their golden vaults under the water. And due to Nagarjuna's profound meditation practice, he received the blessing of receiving these Tara texts from the Nagas. So again, this is a legend, but it's a very interesting legend because sometimes we think of male philosophers as very dry. He was, an excellent monk and an excellent scholar and an excellent meditator. And yet, and also his forte was logic and reasoning. And yet here is this story. Actually, his name, Nagarjuna, comes from, he who received from the Nagas. So that is one story, or the primary story of where the actual Tara texts, the texts of the meditations that lay out the teachings on Tara and the steps of the meditation came from.
Beautiful. So there's all these different texts. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about how extensive the body of practice and work is around Tara.
Well, for centuries, Tara has been practiced. And actually, she also is still practiced by Hindus in certain parts of India, particularly Bengal and other areas. So I think she's a goddess that is loved by both some of the Hindus who know about her and Buddhists. The Buddhists, especially the Tibetans who received their teachings on Buddhism from India between the 8th and 12th centuries, many Tibetans went to India, a very arduous journey across the Himalayas to receive Buddhist teachings. And they received the teachings on Tara in this way. And I myself received the Tara teachings and transmission and initiations from my primary teacher and other masters that I studied and trained with. And this lineage of receiving these teachings orally goes all the way back to the early days of Buddhism in India. And Tara has been practiced every day by both men and women in all the monasteries and nunneries of Tibet for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years and relied upon. And so I feel very fortunate that I was able to receive the meditation and teachings on Tara and that I was able to receive from my teachers. And I feel very fortunate to be a vehicle, a humble vehicle for transmitting and teaching and giving others the experience of this divine female Buddha.
One thing that occurs to me that I'd love to just have a little bit more on is the stage where you move from seeing Tara as external deity that we're praying to, their influence, where we start to see her as a mirror and even merge with her in a way. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that process where we recognize the identity, if you will, with Tara.
Yes. In Vajrayana Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism, the process is in meditation when we're doing what is called a creative form meditation, which this is, form and formlessness meditation, so it moves back and forth. So we start from formlessness, and of course in the course I'll be guiding people through this. And then Tara appears, as you mentioned, in front of us. And then at a certain point in the practice, after we've received healing and transmission, etc., then Tara dissolves into light, into us. And whenever we meditate on an awakened being in Vajrayana, Buddhist tantric practice, this is the process. So she dissolves into us because in actuality, she's not separate from us. And then we become Tara. We become one with her awakened body, awakened speech, awakened mind. And in this way, the duality between the profound, the awakened, and our human realm, us as human beings with all of our ups and downs, that duality between the mundane and the sacred dissolves, and we open to feel ourselves as the awakened presence of Tara. And this helps activate, it helps us get in touch with our own awakened nature. And then there's the meditation continues with ourselves as Tara until eventually, through steps, again, we dissolve back into formlessness. And we learn this dance of form and formlessness that actually we all engage through our lifetimes. You know, we're appearing as human beings. At some point, we'll pass away into formlessness. And from, a Buddhist point of view, then we'll arise in a new form, in a new life, at another time and place. And the dance of form and formlessness not only prepares us for death, but it teaches us that we are way more than our form. Our form is a manifestation of who we are, but we are actually inseparable with the vastness, and we are primordially pure, primordially awake from the beginning.
This is a wonderful explanation of the dance of the form and formless and how that can evolve out of our practices too. Well, Lama Palden, you clearly have so much to share in this area. The transmission of this wisdom lineage is very palpable in you, and I want to let people know about your upcoming program in more detail, so those who are feeling called to go deeper into this practice have a chance to do so. So first of all, we're really delighted that Lama Palden has agreed to partner with us on this work. It's the first time we've brought forward this work in our network, and we really feel that this is particularly for the call of our times to reclaim and open to the awakened feminine. This is a really important full spectrum ignition and opening and healing that can happen with Tara. And there's such a deep body of practice around it as well. So the program is called The Awakened Feminine of Tara, Embracing the Loving Wisdom and Bold Truths of the Female Buddha. And you can find it described in detail and also for registration at awakenedtaracourse.com. Again, that's awakenedtaracourse.com. It's going to be a 7-week program. There's no prerequisites. It really allows you to begin to dive into these practices. Lama Palden is not just a theoretician. She's really here to guide people in their own journey of awakening and practice. And so this is going to be a practice program where you learn practices that begin to dissolve the old structures, that open to a full sacred embrace of all who you are, as we discussed, that open to different qualities of the feminine through Tara and the healing with the masculine. Many of the things that we've discussed today become real, living, embodied realities when you take this journey. So, Lama Palden, I would love for you to share in your own words what it is that people are going to receive and experience in the 7-week journey with you, and then you can take us on a tour of the modules.
Okay, so we will explore a full meditation on Tara and how each piece of this can help in our own healing and liberation process, and how each step begins to dissolve the hardened psychological structures that are not serving us any longer, but instead call forth our own awakened presence, our own talents, our own gifts, our own unique contributions, and who we uniquely are as a human being. So in the overall sense, there's a delight in this process of connecting with Tara and connecting with more and more deeply with our own innate awakened presence. And so the course will work like that, and will also explore through inquiry some of the blocks that we might be aware of that might come up during the practice, or some of the hesitations that people sometimes have about this. Is a different kind of meditation for many people, and they may not have done this kind of active or creative meditation. So, there's time to explore that and explore challenges that are coming up or hesitations that people have. And then also the personal inquiries help people to explore personal psychological blocks or structures or core beliefs that are blocking our spiritual opening, our spiritual realization. And so this course is a full opportunity to really deeply engage in this meditation and to work with ourselves in a fully compassionate, loving, and thorough way to really enhance our journey of awakening and bring us much further down the path. So in terms of the modules, we start and we'll be opening into sanctuary, to finding sanctuary in our meditation practice, to engaging with all the awakened beings and all those that each of you as participants have connection with, and moving into opening up our minds and hearts to all beings, engaging in our meditation on behalf of all of humanity, of all beings, of all throughout our world and beyond, and starting to really open into this healing, soothing, nourishing quality of Tara. And then in Module 2, we'll be deepening our personal connection with Tara and working with letting go of things that are bothering us, asking for Tara's help in that, working with our inner obstacles and helping those to dissolve and let go, working more with feeling the innate wisdom energy of our challenges and how we can move into opening that. And in Module 4, continuing to deepen step by step through our whole meditation process. In this module, our meditation will come to the point where we become Tara, and we'll really have a sense of opening into awakened presence and how it feels to start opening into the possibility of embodying awakened mind, awakened speech, awakened body. We will work with some of the young, scared parts of ourself and learn how to bring our awareness, our loving awareness, to the human parts of ourselves that are scared or upset, so that we can begin to also be our own loving, awakened parent. And a lot of transformation happens in that process. Ultimately, it's our own awakened awareness where the full, complete healing and liberation takes place. And then we'll be Module 6 opening into exploring more the reality of our true nature and the inseparability of that with all that is, opening into the non-dual nature of self and other, of all that is, and moving back into formlessness and the vast open presence of unlimited wisdom and love. And in the last module, we'll be working with how to embody this in the world and how to bring Tara meditation into our daily lives as we go about our work and play and life, and how to also dedicate our practice to all beings and become a vehicle, each and every one of us, for the healing of humanity, for the moving forward on a human level in our situation today on this planet.
Well, what a beautiful blessing this program is going to be. I really love the comprehensiveness that you're working with all these different layers and integrating the scared young parts and then ultimately manifesting that and expressing in the world. So I'll share a few other things about this. First of all, again, you can see the Awakened Feminine of Tara program at awakenedtaracourse.com, awakenedtaracourse.com. It's laid out in all kinds of detail there. This is a live video program, so just as today you'll get to see Lama Palden directly, it helps to really create the connection and rapport, and you're also going to be able to ask live questions and engage her as well as each other in a really profound way. So you're going to have the 90 minutes every week. You've got videos of that you can watch at any time, audios if you want to listen in the car. We'll also do transcripts word for word so you can read about any pieces that you missed. Also get access to an online community, which is a great field of practice and a sangha, a spiritual community that really allows you to deepen with this material in a beautiful way. We also have a number of great bonuses that Lama Palden has included with this program as well. There's one called The Spiritual Path, and that's an audio teaching. You can see more details about these on the page. There's also one with Lama Palden called Personal Journey and the Ego. Again, she's bridging a lot of Eastern understandings with the Western psychological framework in a really interesting and useful way. Also, another article by Lama Palden called How to Practice Dedicating Merit. So that's really about, giving the blessing of whatever you've received into the larger world. And then we have one final bonus, which is available only today until midnight. We like to do this as a way to encourage you to go to the page at awakenedtaracourse.com. Give it a read, tune in, and if you're getting a yes to move forward, that you want to receive this blessing and empowerment, then you get an extra bonus when you do so today by midnight. So this is called Essential Buddhist Teachings. This is Lama Palden's, again, audio teaching. Lama Palden, would you like to share a little bit about that special bonus that people get once they sign up by midnight tonight?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, in Essential Buddhist Teachings, I've taken the core principles that are really key to understanding and then lay that out in a way that's easy for people to understand and to integrate and to inquire into these principles in terms of their own life. Does this make sense? Does this seem real to me? How might this affect me? How might I practice this? And like that. So combination with the principles and the meditations.
Great. Well, we've kept this very accessible investment. It's just 3 payments of $109 or 1 payment of $297. It's 10% off when you pay in full. And so it's really going to be a great program and a great investment in your spiritual growth over time, since these are practices you learn and can incorporate into your daily work and to inner healing and really that inner alchemy of awakening to the gold elixir within you that represents the more awakened mind and consciousness. So the program begins on November 13th. It's going to run Tuesdays at noon Pacific time. That's 3 Eastern. And even if you can't make that live because you've got other commitments, you can still get the full value by participating and with the downloads and in the community and really being part of the field of practice that moves forward. So it's going to be a beautiful program, and we're really blessed to be offering it. So if you're feeling called, you're warmly welcome to engage it and to sign up today when you get the essential Buddhist teachings with Lama Palden when you sign up by midnight tonight. And so again, the URL for all the details and registration is awakenedtaracourse.com, awakenedtaracourse.com. Lama Palden, I've really enjoyed this time with you. You're such a sort of warm, wise, awake presence to be with. So anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering whether or not to join you for the 7-week journey of the awakened feminine wisdom of Tara?
I'd just say that during this time for us as human beings and what we're facing as the human race, that we all really, really need sustenance. We need nourishment, and we need to really be able to connect with our hearts and our minds and who we truly are. And I think that these kind of meditations, and specifically with the nourishment and the healing and the awakened transmission of Tara, can really help us to come to a place in ourselves where our unique qualities can blossom, and so that we can be part of the solution for humanity at this time when we're facing monumental challenges. And also Tara can give us the peace, the sanctuary, the nourishment we need in order to be able to truly, really make a difference in this world, and to do so while we are able to be at peace in ourselves and be happy in ourselves.
Well, thank you. You're speaking my language. What a beautiful offering to really give us that sustenance, to be the agents of change, to deal with the challenges of our world, and to really radiate out the awakened presence that we truly are. So thank you for the blessings of this hour. Thank you for your time, everyone who has joined us. If you are feeling pulled to go further, you're warmly welcome at awakenedtaracourse.com, and you get the extra essential Buddhist teachings when you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you so much. Blessings.